Hi there and welcome back to Japan, where we're checking out Yanakoto Sotto Mute, sorry, I keep on pronouncing it in the Japanese way, but it's supposed to be mute, isn't it? Afterglow. As always, since we restarted the channel, if you want to see the reaction, I just did it. Click on the link in the description below to open a separate player where you'll be able to watch that, so just have to put it in a separate video. Sorry, complicated reasons. I'm sure it won't hurt too much, but pause this video while you check that out now, and then if you've done that, here comes the review. So have you checked out the reaction? Pause this video, click the link, seen the reaction? Good? Okay, here's the review. Alright, so this song is, well, like I said before the reaction, this is a group who I'm desperately hoping to enjoy. This is a group who I like the fact they have this quality that, I mean, to reiterate something I've said that you guys have heard a lot of times before, I mean, I like music from pretty much every genre. You know, I'm one of those people, when I say I like all types of music, I genuinely do mean that. I've worked with writing, and I appreciate very much there's two different styles of writing. You can write in a very complicated, intricate way, or, well, I mean, there's ways in between, but you can be very complicated and intricate, or you can go for something which is simple and just hits all the right notes at the right time. Something I'd sort of refer to as like the Song 2 by Blur or Smells Like Teen Spirit by Nirvana sort of theory, you know, just something that just, there's not much to it, but it hits all the right notes at the right time. Yanakoto Sotto Mute seemed to be more in that direction. What's fascinating though, is that, as often said, that style of writing where you go minimal, but still the song sounds fully fleshed out and you're just sort of relying on just like a good melody or a very good basic theory. The reason that writing style is so incredibly difficult is because obviously you've got less tools to work with, more of a focus on a certain part of the song, and yet you have to make it at the end memorable time and time again. You know, this is why, you know, you look at bands like, you know, with Blur, with Song 2, they only did that once. They did some other songs in a similar ilk, but nothing quite like that, because they did that one song because it worked, and then it was like, well, let's not repeat that, because that's a, you know, it's a difficult trick to repeat. Now, obviously this song's more complicated than something like Song 2. I'm not saying that necessarily, but like the other three songs we've heard by Yanakoto Sotto Mute on this channel, or, you know, the previous channel, whatever, the thing which really stands out is that they are basically mostly about the melody. They're very melody focused. The backing, like for example, this was more complicated than some. There are other backings, you know, it had a lot of orchestration, string work was really prominent in this. The beat did some interesting things, but they were all fairly rudimentary things happening behind it. It very much depended on the melody, and the melody was fantastic. So first of all, before we go on to the arrangement, let's just have a little talk about, sorry, before we go on to the melody, let's have a little talk about the arrangement. The arrangement nicely built up in steps. And I thought this was a good choice for something which was supposed to be quite a dramatic song. And the song's called Afterglow. I don't know how commonly known this word is. I had never heard of it. For, you know, when I grew up, it might just be mainly an American word. Sorry, correct me if I'm wrong. But I first heard what this word meant when I bought So Much for the Afterglow by Everclear, which was one of the first albums I ever bought. And I didn't have my first CD player until I was, you know, already pretty much out of my teens. You know, I wasn't that young when I first did that. And it was even years after that, then I looked up the word. What does it actually mean? And the idea that afterglow is the idea of the sort of happiness you have directly after an event. So basically like what you might call the honeymoon period of a relationship. So when someone uses a word like that, you assume that we're talking about, you know, sort of something with emotional weight. And that's what this song was clearly going for. It's supposed to be sort of big and emotionally done, and that they were using the line "wake me up" as a sort of cool answer, or just more like a chanted backing. And so, you know, clearly emotional weight was what they were going for here. And the arrangement did that by starting incredibly simple, just the sort of piano underneath. And then it went into sort of the guitars, but the guitars were being played, you know, with a bit of mute, very sort of simple chords, no twiddle, nothing like that. They rarely do have twiddle in these songs. And then it built up more, it got louder, then the strings came in. Again, everything's staying simple, but just ramping it up. And just when you think it's at full energy, the drums cut into like a double time beat. All of these incredibly rudimentary systems, but they were nicely layered and happened at the right time, so that everything felt like it was building up underneath. And yet this is still a song where if someone just sat down and sung this to an acoustic guitar, I think it would still have equal impact, which is something that you rarely get from these type of pop groups, let's be honest. Although these guys are more rock than rock and roll than anything else a lot of the time. But these sort of pop group songs, you rarely get that quality that they can be stripped down to such simple working parts. And yet that's something which remains true of almost all of their songs. So the orchestration, the arrangement helped to build things up and accent it. And they did it in a perfect, simple, uncomplicated, maybe a little bit stereotypical way, but it worked. It worked perfectly. What was the highlight, though, was the melody. Now, the melody went through lots of twists and turns. Now, one thing that I would point out here, and this is something we haven't discussed so much, is the idea of how a good melody often works. Now, if you want to write a good, interesting melody, especially a catchy one of the most core things that a lot of beginner writers forget is the fact that preferably each line should have more than one rhythm. If you've got if you're singing a thing that always goes like this, then it is kind of hard to remember because it's always on the beat. That could get lost with a million other things. But if you're singing something where it goes to a different timing here, little bits of gap in between, it becomes more memorable. That's really important thing that people don't realize is that the spacing of the syllables has to be interesting, as well as the melody. A good melody is a mixture of melody and rhythm. So in this case, you listen to it and you never fall into that little problem on this song. The words are always sort of, bouncing around, and yet they're fitting the beat perfectly. It's sounding expressive, sounding interesting, and yet not sounding confused or muddled. When you go the opposite direction is when sometimes a singer, and this can sometimes happen when a singer insists on writing the lyrics before the song's written, or maybe shoehorning a set of lyrics into a song without editing it. Sometimes you get something where it sounds like there's too many syllables. They can't cram in the words they want, so maybe the lyrics will fall off the end of the line, and they'll be singing after when the melody sounds like it should have stopped, or maybe they'll be singing a little bit too fast that doesn't sound like it fits with the rhythm properly. This just sounded perfectly written. The melody was beautiful. It kept changing and being interesting, and yet it was making the most out of everything. It was tonally moving in a nice flowing way, which was easy to follow. It was the perfect mixture. It was what I want a melody to be. It was the perfect mixture of being interesting, both tonally and rhythmically, and also not being muddled or overcomplicated. I need to go back and listen to some of their other songs to really see how well they use this, mixture of the two things on their other songs. And yet it is just something where in this song, it's really occurring to me probably more than it had before. I mean, before I was just like, wow, aren't these really interesting melodies they keep on coming up with? But here, this one, to me, it was something where at no point did it ever sound repetitive. And yet it always sounded, I guess you could say catchy, but it sounded very sing-alongable. It sounded like I don't know 100% what's going to happen next, and yet I feel like everything that comes up sounds like it belongs next. So this was one of those songs where I think the word I would go for, and I often think this is one of the most complimentary words you can give to any piece of music, is effortless. Things that sound like they are exuding effort can be impressive. But I think sometimes the best songs are the ones where you don't, it's like, is the best fast car the one that looks like it's about to explode, or the one that is just going fast? It's kind of like that. It's that feeling. Sometimes you want something which is effortless that just sounds like it just works. And to me, this was a really good example of that. So I'm really enjoying it, really enjoying what I'm hearing from these girls. I'd really love to know, as I said at the end of the reaction, whether they have one writer who writes all the songs. Because if so, I want to see how much more of this they've got left in them. Because like I say, it's really hard to base an entire song on a melody and keep on doing that. But that seems to be the writing style, and they're doing a fantastic job. Maybe it is multiple writers, I don't know. But great stuff. As always, really enjoying Yanakoto Sotto, and can't wait to listen to more of them. So again, as always, if you're a fan of the group or not, whether you like this or not, whatever you know about them or don't, get in the comments, tell us what you know, tell us your opinions. Music's all about the subjective. I can give you more of an objective view as someone who's worked with music for my entire life, as well as my own opinions. But you guys, I want you to tell me what you think, what you might know that I don't know about the group, all of these things, and I look forward to us talking about those in the comments. If you want to talk more about music, remember we've got our Discord and our Reddit linked in the description below, as well as my Facebook and Twitter, and of course the Patreon, because a big thank you to our Patreon supporters who, you are the only reason this channel is still running and that we came back from the brink of destruction. Or no, we actually came back from destruction. So big thank you to you guys. Now, anyone else who wants to join is much appreciated. But either way, thank you so much for making it to the end of this video. And for now, from Japan, ciao ciao.